February of the year 2013. Melbourne, Australia. A city that never truly sleeps, and at its heart stands a monument to fortune, the Crown Casino. A palace of glass and gold where the air hums with the rhythm of slot machines, where billionaires chase the illusion of luck beneath 1,000 lights that never fade. This is not a place for the weak. It is where money moves faster than thought, where every smile hides a secret, and every decision carries a price. But on one quiet night, something extraordinary was about to happen. A man was invited here not to lose, but to win. Not just a few $1,000, 32 million. And the most remarkable part, the casino itself opened the door for him. His name was James Manning, a man who already possessed everything money could buy, except the one thing it could never secure: control. He was charming, disciplined, confident, the kind of man who understood how to make others underestimate him. Behind his calm eyes lived a hunger, not for wealth, but for power, the quiet thrill of bending the odds, of outsmarting a system designed to break everyone else. Because when life gives you everything, you stop craving comfort. You start craving conquest. That is the danger of fortune. It whispers that you are untouchable. And on this night, that whisper would become a roar. What makes this story unforgettable is not the brilliance of the plan or the millions at stake. It is the people behind it: a man blinded by ambition, a woman cornered by desperation, and a world so obsessed with winning that it forgets who is truly playing the game. In the end, this is not a story about luck. It is about illusion, control, and the night when the house, for the first time, invited its own destruction. In the glittering heart of Melbourne's Southbank stands the Crown Casino, a fortress of light and marble. To most people, it is a dream, a promise that fortune can be tamed if you are bold enough to reach for it. To the casino, it is a machine, perfect, polished, and hungry. It feeds on human hope, and it never loses. One morning, James Manning's phone rang. The voice on the other end was smooth, professional, and warm. "Mr. Manning, this is Crown Casino's VIP services. We would like to invite you to experience our Mahogany Room, all expenses paid. A private villa for your family, a personal host. A vault stocked with cash, just in case you get lucky." James smiled. It was not the first time a casino had offered him luxury. But something about this call felt different. It felt like a challenge. A game inside the game. And James Manning was not the kind of man to refuse an invitation like that. He was a businessman from New Zealand, self-made, confident, the kind of man who had built his wealth on instinct and risk. Yet beneath his calm voice was a craving for something no business deal could give him: that electric pulse of uncertainty, the thrill of facing odds and daring them to break. When he arrived in Melbourne, Crown Casino rolled out the red carpet. The Mahogany Room was more than just a room, it was another world. Soft golden light. Walls of polished wood that seemed to breathe warmth. Leather seats that remembered every player who had sat before. Crystal glasses waiting to be filled with courage or regret. And through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Yarra River glowed like a ribbon of silver beneath the night. Here, nothing was accidental. Every scent, every sound, every detail designed to make a man like James feel powerful. It was a theater of temptation. The dealers smiled with the grace of performers, the servers moved like dancers, and the music hummed just softly enough to make you believe time had stopped. A personal host named Sarah was assigned to him. She greeted him with a practiced warmth, the kind that made guests feel seen but never truly known. Her job was simple: keep him happy, keep him comfortable, and most importantly, keep him playing. She brought drinks before he asked, remembered his favorite whiskey, and laughed at his quiet jokes. She was flawless, invisible, and loyal. Or at least, that was what Crown believed. James studied her with the same quiet attention he gave to the cards on the table. He noticed the faint tiredness in her eyes, the way she sometimes looked away when laughter filled the room. To everyone else, she was just another face behind the brand. To him, she was human. And in that humanity, he saw something the casino had missed: vulnerability. He had not come to Melbourne to gamble with luck. He had come to gamble with people. The kind who worked behind the lights, who carried the weight of perfection on tired shoulders. People who, for the right reason or the wrong one, could make the impossible possible. The invitation had been simple. The plan forming in his mind was anything but. Every great plan begins with one quiet moment of recognition, that instant when one person looks at another and sees not what they show, but what they hide. For James Manning, that moment came the first night he met his assigned host. Her name was Sarah. To the casino, she was part of the decor: polished, reliable, invisible. But to Manning, she was the first real crack in a flawless system. She moved with practiced grace, but her eyes told a different story. They carried the heaviness of someone who had seen too much and rested too little. For 6 long years, Sarah had served the world's wealthiest gamblers. She smiled through their arrogance, their celebrations, and their defeats. She had learned to read their moods, anticipate their needs, and disappear before their frustration turned cruel. That was the secret skill of a VIP host, to make luxury feel effortless, even when her own life was falling apart. Outside the shimmering walls of the casino, Sarah's reality was fragile. She lived alone in a modest apartment near the river, with unpaid bills stacked like quiet accusations on the kitchen counter. Her mother was dying. Stage 4 cancer. The kind that drains hope faster than any hospital drip. Every dollar she earned slipped away into medication and rent. Every hour of rest she stole was shadowed by guilt. Crown Casino was her stage, and every shift, she put on the same costume, the confident smile, the graceful tone, the illusion of control. Because in a place built to sell fantasy, reality has no place. No guest wanted to see the pain behind the performance. So she smiled, and the world believed her. Manning did not. He noticed. He watched the way her voice softened when she spoke about family, the slight tremor in her hand as she served his drink, the hospital wristband half hidden beneath her sleeve. He listened, truly listened, and in that small, human act, a connection formed. No one knows the exact moment when empathy turned into opportunity. But one evening, as they stood by the window overlooking the Yarra River, Manning made her an offer that would change both their lives. $300,000. Enough to clear her debts. Enough to buy her mother more time. No violence. No one would get hurt. Just a few codes, access to a network no one outside the casino should ever see. It sounded almost harmless. It sounded like hope. That night, Sarah sat alone in her apartment. The city lights shimmered beyond the window, but her thoughts were miles away in a hospital room filled with the sound of her mother's breathing. She had spent her life helping men gamble with money. Now she was gambling with something far more dangerous, her soul. By sunrise, the decision was made. She sent the codes. And in that moment, desperation became the spark that would ignite a $32 million storm. When Sarah pressed send, she believed she was helping one man. What she did not realize was that she had just awakened another. Somewhere across Melbourne, in a quiet apartment glowing with the pale light of computer screens, a young man stared at a stream of code that few people on Earth could understand. His name was never revealed, but those who later studied the case called him simply the Watcher. He was not a criminal in the usual sense. He was a technician, a quiet mind drawn to the rhythm of invisible systems. While others chased noise, he chased silence, the kind that hums beneath machines. As a child, he would sit for hours listening to the soft static of old radios, wondering how unseen signals could travel across the world. That curiosity had grown into obsession, and obsession into mastery. The Crown Casino's network was built to be perfect. 30,000 cameras, layers of encryption, dozens of specialists watching every screen in shifts around the clock. It was a system built on arrogance, a fortress of glass and code. But every fortress carries a flaw, and perfection, to a mind like his, was not intimidating. It was inviting. The Watcher began to study the digital heartbeat of Crown. He mapped out its signals, traced the invisible paths connecting every lens and sensor, and listened for the faintest irregularity. Then he found it, the whisper in the signal. The cameras were not truly closed. They transmitted wirelessly, a design choice made for efficiency, not security. And with the access codes Sarah had just sent, the walls began to dissolve. For weeks, he worked in silence. Days blurred into nights as he fine-tuned antennas and frequencies. He hardly ate. He slept only when his vision blurred. Then, one cold morning, the screens came alive. The image sharpened. There it was, the Mahogany Room. The dealers, the cards, the chips glinting under gold light. Every corner visible, every secret exposed. He froze. For the first time, he was looking directly into a world he was never meant to see. The perfection of it was breathtaking. He could see the shuffle of cards, the flicker of emotion in a dealer's eye, the nervous breath of a player about to lose a fortune. It was more than hacking. It was revelation. He adjusted the transmitters, synced the signal, and ran one final test. When the game began, he would become Manning's silent partner, the ghost in his ear. He would whisper truth disguised as luck. Every move, every card, predicted with precision. The Watcher knew what this meant. If anyone traced the signal, his life would vanish with a single click. But he also knew something deeper. This was not just about money. It was about control, proving that even the most powerful systems, the ones that claimed to see everything, could still be blind. Across the city, James Manning looked out from his suite, the skyline glowing beneath the dawn. Two men, one driven by pride, the other by curiosity, bound together by a secret signal of light. In a few hours, they would walk into history, daring to challenge the house that swore it could never lose. Night settled over Melbourne, and inside the Mahogany Room the world felt suspended in gold. Soft jazz whispered from hidden speakers, the chandeliers glowed like small suns, and the air smelled faintly of perfume and expensive whiskey. The room was calm, confident, a sanctuary for those who believed luck could be tamed. Tonight, James Manning walked in knowing luck had already surrendered. He carried himself with quiet assurance, the kind that wealth and experience teach. His tailored suit, the smooth cufflinks, the measured steps, all signaled control. To the dealers he looked like another high roller chasing a dream. Only he knew that every move had already been decided. Manning sat at the table. The dealer smiled, polite and professional, unaware that the game had already been rewritten. Sarah stood near the bar, her posture perfect, her expression still. She could not look at him for long. Every time their eyes met, she felt the weight of her choice pressing down. Miles away, the watcher adjusted his headset. The glow of his monitors painted his face in pale blue. His voice came through calm and steady. Camera 248, feed clear. Dealer shows a 10, hole card is a 6, stand. Manning touched his ear, nodded slightly, and obeyed. The dealer flipped the card. The house busted. Manning won. His reaction was effortless, a quiet smile, a sip of whiskey, a casual nod of thanks. To the cameras, it was another lucky moment in a place built on luck. But beneath the surface, the pattern had begun. Small wins, quiet losses, then another flawless hand. Each movement practiced, every reaction natural. The pit boss watched, unimpressed. There was nothing unusual about a man on a streak. As the night deepened, the rhythm grew hypnotic. The cards slid, the chips clicked, the music swelled softly. Manning looked calm, but Sarah's pulse raced. Every chip that crossed the table felt heavier than gold. Each whisper from the earpiece echoed like a secret that could destroy them all. For the watcher, time disappeared. Every breath, every blink of the dealer's eyes became data. The system worked perfectly. They were inside the beating heart of the casino, unseen, unstoppable. Around them, the Mahogany Room glowed with wealth and innocence. Waiters poured champagne, laughter rose and fell, and the cameras watched everything except the truth. 3 lives: a gambler, a host, and a hacker bound together by a single signal of light. The house always wins, that was the rule. But tonight the house was blind. And inside its golden silence, a man who had come to lose was quietly teaching the casino what fear looked like. Hours passed. The rhythm of cards and whispers had become a quiet dance between luck and control. Manning was ahead by millions, every move flawless, every decision timed to perfection. Then, without warning, the voice in his ear vanished. Silence, no signal, no guidance, no edge. The watcher froze, staring at his screens. The feed flickered, then went dark. Somewhere inside the casino, a wireless sweep had begun, a routine security scan that jammed outside frequencies. 10 seconds of static, but to them, it felt like eternity. At the table, Manning's heartbeat thundered in his chest. The dealer looked at him, waiting. He had 14, the dealer showed an 8. His mind raced. Hit, and he might lose it all. Stand, and he might look suspicious. He drew a breath and made the only choice left. Hit. The next card was a 9. Bust, $85,000 gone in an instant. The pit boss smirked. Finally the house had its moment. Miles away the watcher slammed his keyboard, then paused. The signal returned, clear and stable. He whispered again, steady and calm, as if nothing had happened. Manning did not react. He lifted his drink, nodded politely, and played on. What none of them realized was that the loss had just saved them. For 2 hours, Manning's precision had been too perfect, too mechanical. That one mistake made him human again. The casino relaxed. The suspicion faded. Sometimes, in a game built on risk, losing a hand is the smartest move you can make. By 3 in the morning, the Mahogany Room moved with the slow rhythm of wealth. The air was warm with perfume and quiet music, the kind that makes people believe time has stopped. James Manning sat at the table, calm and focused, a man who seemed to belong to that world. But behind his stillness, something much sharper was taking shape. The lost hand had saved him. The pit boss had relaxed. The cameras drifted to other tables. Even Sarah began to breathe again. Manning's strategy was simple and brilliant. He lost small, won big, then lost again, never too perfect, never too predictable. Every gesture rehearsed, every pause calculated. It was chaos disguised as chance, luck built on discipline. Across the city, the watcher stayed locked to his screens, eyes dry, voice steady. He whispered each move with care, his tone so calm it almost sounded like breathing. Between them the silence carried trust. The signal had become more than a tool. It was connection, invisible yet alive. Sarah watched from the edge of the room, her heart beating too fast. The chips on the table no longer looked like money, they looked like consequences. She smiled when she needed to, but every time Manning won, a knot tightened in her chest. Hours passed. The stack in front of Manning grew higher. 5 million, 10, 20. His laugh was soft, his charm effortless. To anyone watching, he was a man blessed by fortune. To himself, he was balancing on the edge of discovery. In the control room, security guards glanced at his footage, then looked away. Another lucky streak, they thought. It was not unusual here. Manning knew the truth. In a place built on illusion, the greatest power is to appear ordinary. And tonight, under the golden lights of the Mahogany Room, he had become invisible. Dawn crept across Melbourne, washing the city in pale light. Inside the casino, the Mahogany Room was quieter now. The crowd had thinned, the laughter faded, but James Manning was still there, calm and steady, his stack of chips towering before him. To the world, he looked like a man touched by luck. To himself, he was balancing on a knife's edge. In the surveillance room, a technician named Marcus sipped cold coffee and watched the monitors. He had spent 11 years studying gamblers, learning the rhythm of luck and loss. Something about Manning's play felt different. Too precise, too patient. Marcus leaned forward. He rewound the footage, slowed it down, and noticed a pattern no one else had seen. Manning kept touching his right ear. Not often, not enough to stand out, but always before the dealer revealed a card. He zoomed in frame by frame. There, just beneath the skin, a faint reflection of light, not sweat, not shadow. A tiny device, flesh-colored and almost invisible. Marcus's stomach tightened. He checked the network logs. During Manning's session, someone had accessed the surveillance feeds from outside the building. Not once but continuously. A cold realization hit him. Someone was inside their system, watching them as they watched him. Marcus picked up the phone. His voice was quiet but urgent. "Wake up, security. We have a problem." Down on the gaming floor, Manning lifted his glass, unaware that the house he had beaten was finally waking up. When the call came, security moved fast. By sunrise, James Manning's winnings were frozen, his villa surrounded, his luck finally questioned. But the arrest never came. Because for Crown Casino, the truth was more dangerous than the crime. To admit what happened would mean exposing everything: the breach, the failure, the arrogance of believing they were untouchable. The headlines would destroy them. Investors would panic. The government would intervene. So they did what powerful institutions always do when cornered. They buried the truth. Sarah was dismissed quietly, her record sealed. The watcher disappeared, leaving no trace. Manning was banned for life, but never charged. The 32 million remained locked in the system, neither lost nor won. In the end, no one spoke of that night again. The casino lights stayed bright, the games went on, and the illusion of control lived another day. But for those who knew, the silence itself was the confession. In the end, it was never just about the money. It was about people, their choices, and the quiet war between morality and desire. Every empire believes it cannot be broken until someone finds the courage, or the desperation, to prove otherwise. The Crown Casino learned that lesson the hard way. The system was perfect, but the people inside it were not. And sometimes, that is all it takes to bring down a kingdom built on luck.